All right, welcome back to John Brown's Rod Reviews. Exciting day. We have a real rod behind us. And you'll notice some improvements to the system here. There's a track, so no matter what size rod that we have, we can move it up and down this track to have the actual rod tip in the same spot every time. And so that'll be important for the release system here when we're going to test sensitivity. First, we're going to go into power and action of this UglyStikElite. This is a first gen UglyStikElite. It's a 6.5 foot spinning version of the UglyStikElite. This probably came out in like mid 20 teens, late 20 teens. I picked this one up in 2019. I really like this rod. I've caught my biggest bass on this rod, the same one. It is really light. Ugly Stick advertises 35% more graphite. So in whatever material stack they do, I guess they use less fiberglass and more of the graphite in this version. And you really can't tell. It's definitely lighter, and you feel a little bit of a more sensitive response even when you're just fishing for feel. But let's take a look at the setup here. Over here, this is going to be our trigger system. So if you look right there, that's going to be the solenoid where the bag of pennies is released from. It's on a remote relay, so I can make it repeatable every time. X marks the spot. That's the rod tip. It does take into account the run of the rod while it's level. Everything has been checked for level. Since this is a 6.5 foot rod, 1/3 the length right there, I've got it marked. That is 25 3/4 inches. And so I'll go ahead and let you see what it looks like when that weight is let go. And I'll convert this to common sense pennies. But you can see, all right, you can see we do have that bend right here, right at that level. So that's what we want. That's 1/3 the rod length, and we'll get the protractor on it to get the action here. But that's really the way that we're going to do it. You've got your power just like that, and I've already done all the heavy lifting here and put all the weights in the bag. But we'll go ahead and get right into the action. All right, so now we're back with the action. Now, I do want to note, really, before we get into any of this, this is Dr. Bill Hanneman's method. So this is an actual print directly from his Common Sense paper that was published in 2003. But let's go ahead and put that tip right there. Uh, I'm gonna call it 75, 76, somewhere in there. It is a little bit hard to not get this rod tip oscillating, and as you can see, it's really right on 75 or a little bit greater. Let's just call it 76 for the action angle right there. All right, welcome back. You're just going to take my word for it that this is 10% of the power weight that we had earlier. I did just measure it. It is exactly 10%. We've got that installed. We've also got the accelerometer over here installed. I'll give you a close up look of it. This is the Evident battery. Uh, it's about a $200 accelerometer, not too bad. It does measure acceleration and angular velocity. We're only going to report out acceleration. I want to keep it simple. Acceleration is directly proportional to the force. F equals ma. So let me get this set back up here. If all goes well, whenever I release the trigger on this remote, it will release the solenoid, so it's repeatable every time. I do got to hit record on the data so that we can collect that. All right. Streaming the data. 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'll be showing that data. We did get a good collection there. So here I've plotted the raw data, and you see uh, where the solenoid was triggered in that first tenth of a second. then you see the free fall, and then you see that pulse. And so I've converted this to G's, and we see that 4.27 as the max acceleration right here. Now you might say, what does that really mean as far as acceleration in G's? Acceleration is convenient because it's directly proportional to the force. So, like I said earlier, F equals ma. That's Newton's second law, and that's force, which is what you're going to feel at the real seat, is equal to the mass of the system times the acceleration of the system. And so that's what we're looking at here. We want to look at the acceleration as a whole, and that way we can compare it across rods, no matter what the mass is. So you can compare an ultralight rod sensitivity to a heavy, and really directly compare the feel. So this is definitely beneficial as far as putting a metric to it and doing it in G's. How do you get that? Well, we get the raw data from this accelerometer in meters per second squared. So think about your car going 0 to 60 in some amount of time. So, miles per hour. They say seconds, but you could convert that to hours. So just like meters per hour squared, meters per second squared is an acceleration. But we can also think about that in terms of G's. So if you have a rod here and you were to just drop it into your hand like that, then you would feel, the weight, the force due to gravity accelerating. So we can take meters per second and just go into G's. 1 G is 9.81 meters per second. So here's the stats for the UglyStikElite. Hope you enjoyed it. Tight lines, take it easy. See you next time.